All right, welcome to today's webinar. Glad to have you with us today. We're going to go over job coaching, what employers need to know. My name is Ben Baldonado. I'm with the business relations team with Utah State Office of Rehabilitation. I'm a Hispanic male, about 5'8", in my early 40s, with tan skin, blue quarter zip sweater today, and a blue shirt underneath. We want to go over a few housekeeping items before we get started. This will be recorded. As such, there will be a recording sent out afterwards of this session. We ask that all participants have their cameras off and remain off throughout the event as an accommodation and to decrease on distractions with movement and additional stimuli. However, if you do have a question, you can come off camera, ask those questions, engage in dialogue. We do ask participants to be active on chat. If there's questions or comments or ideas that you have, please add that to the chat. We definitely promote an active chat. Feel free to do a raise hand feature at any point if you do want to jump in and talk through this with the presenters. Closed captioning is available for those who desire this function. It can be found at the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. After the event with the recording, we'll send out flyers for additional events coming up as well. With that in mind and excited to go forward, we have our presenters today. Jason Bennington and Josh Rodeback will be our presenters. So I will turn the time over to them at this point.
Thanks, Ben. I appreciate that. So I'm Jason Bennington. I am on the transition and supported employment team over here at Vocational Rehabilitation. My job responsibilities are specific to supported employment. My position is an employment support services specialist. And so I work directly with the many companies around the state of Utah who provide job placement or job coaching services. So today we're going to be taking a look at job coaching specifically, and just some things that we definitely want employers to know and understand about what job coaching is. So I'll have Ben's going to be navigating the slides here for me. Hopefully he'll kind of get the cues when it's ready to move on. That would be one, I guess, right there. So first of all, I want to talk a little bit about just breaking down job coaching, what's traditionally called job coaching, into sort of three parts. There's sort of the activities that take place in search of a job. So the activities that take place before the person becomes employed. Then there are activities that take place when the individual is employed. And then there's also activities and services that can occur kind of long-term after the client has been employed. So these are sort of the three stages that we look at. I'm going to talk about each of these three stages. I'm going to also sort of talk about, an employer's role and the responsibilities that employers hold in these different stages. And hopefully everybody will be able to come away with this with a little bit better understanding of what job coaching is. So first of all, job development, job placement assistance, that's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. These are the before activities that are taking place. These are things that most employers are really unaware of, but our companies out there, these community rehabilitation programs or CRPs, they're taking clients of vocational rehabilitation out in the community. They're teaching them and helping them with, the application process for jobs, including things like resumes, application completion, job seeking skills, interviewing skills, and all of those types of things. So these are some services that don't really, go along with the placement and the job coaching piece, but it's a lot of work up front to really help an individual, a client of Voc Rehab, find a position that they're really interested in, that they have some skill and ability to perform. It's kind of laying the groundwork for a successful employment situation. I think we can probably go to the next one here. So let's talk a little bit about, because I'm going to go in depth on all three of those a little bit more, we'll move on. So the individuals that Voc Rehab pays to perform these services, they actually do have two different titles. So many people have heard the title job coach before. It became very common to just call anybody that was, helping an individual with their job a job coach. However, the term employment specialist is actually a bit more accurate. And employment specialists also, they go through more training. Their certification process is a bit more extensive, involves more work. So here in the state of Utah, we do have a requirement of our those CRPs that anybody that's going to be an employment specialist has to be certified in ACRE training. I put on here what ACRE is, but it is a nationally accredited certification. Okay, so most states in the country, pretty much all of them, require ACRE or at least accept ACRE as the standard for certification for people who are serving people with disabilities in seeking out, finding, and then maintaining employment. For our purposes, generally 40 hours is pretty much as the duration of an ACRE training. That's usually completed over several days of in-class type stuff, as well as activities that take place out in the community. So right now, for example, Utah State University, right here in Utah, they have a campus in Taylorsville, and there's a team there that facilitates an ACRE training. They say every other month, but they usually end up doing about 9 or 10 of them a year. So they're really trying to expand the capacity of CRPs to provide this service. Job coaches, on the other hand, job coaching is specific to the activities and the service that's being provided to a client who's already been placed in a job. So when we use the term job coach, we are talking about the person who goes with that client, that employee. They go to the work site with them, and then they help them with, skills and training and a bunch of responsibilities that we're going to talk about here in a second. Now, in order to help support our CRPs, we here in Utah, we came up with another training program. We contracted with Utah State to have them provide this. So CRP can send one of their employees to this 8-hour training. It's specific to the responsibilities and activities that a job coach needs to know so that they can bring on a new employee, get them out in the field working with clients in work sites, and then they can later send them to the ACRE training if that individual wants to sort of progress in that career field, or if the employer just says, hey, we would love for you to stick around with us for a while. How about we do this other certification? You start doing some more stuff for us. So there are standards out there, and the CRPs are required to meet these standards. Go ahead, Ben. Thank you. So let's talk just a little bit about that first piece, that job development and job placement. You'll notice that at the bottom there, it says employer responsibilities, none. That's pretty true, right? Employers, all you need to do is have your jobs posted out there for somebody to apply to. Now, as far as Voc Rehab is concerned, when we're supporting a client, a counselor meets with that client and decides, you know what, this person could probably use a little bit of help out there looking for a job, applying to that job, landing the job. So that's what they're doing during job development and job placement. Okay. Our employment specialists that Voc Rehab is paying for can do any and all of these things that are listed here, right? They might be doing some types of assessments with the clients. They might be trying to determine what some of their skills and abilities are, okay? Specifically, they're trained to do something called a work strategy assessment, which is a wonderful hands-on, one-on-one type of thing to learn about the client. From there, they can do a lot of the sort of normal things that we all might have done when we were looking for work, right? They're going to be working with that client, looking at, hey, what are you interested in? Like, what types of job fields might you want to work in? And setting goals with these clients about what they want to do, okay? From there, they'll start job searching. They'll be online just like all of us do. They'll get, their profiles set up on different websites and things like that. They'll help a client build, their resume. They're going to help them post that resume. They're going to be teaching them how to do these things as they go along. The intent of job development and job placement assistance is not just to, walk a client through it and get it done. There is some, really training that goes on there and helping the client understand how to do it. And then obviously interview preparation, right? Many people need help with this, feeling comfortable getting over that anxiety of having to interview. And vocational rehabilitation, we understand that. And so we've got professionals out there that are helping our clients prepare for those types of things. Now, on the job support is what happens once a client is employed. Okay, so we have our clients, they find a job, they get offered that job, they're given a start date, and a job coach or an employment specialist, because they're also certified, they are going to help with a bunch of these services that are on here. Okay, onboarding and workplace integration, right? That takes place pretty quickly. Onboarding tasks like getting all their paperwork set up, anything that they need to do sort of during those initial days on the job. A job coach can be present and help that client if it's needed. Now, from there, a job coach is also going to help work on things that are specific to the job, right? So there are specific job tasks that the employee is going to be in charge of. They're going to have responsibilities that they need to complete on a daily basis. That might require a little bit of development of some job skills, right? The job coach is an individual who can be there, learn what those tasks and responsibilities and skills are, and then remain with that individual to sort of, help watch over and make sure that they're grasping things the way that they need to be. As they're observing this new employee, they're also going to be looking at maybe some needs of accommodations, right? Maybe the client does really well with certain aspects of the job, but maybe there's an accommodation that could help, their productivity increase, right? Maybe make something a little bit easier for them. Something as simple as some note taking or something to that effect might greatly improve like an employee's ability to complete their job. Now, job coaches, when they are on the job there, they're also going to be providing feedback to the client about their performance, right? So the job coach can sometimes, and pretty often, they're that first line that says, okay, let's talk about how you've been doing with these activities today and these tasks. And then they will continue to follow up on that regularly with that client. Now, I also mentioned the employer collaboration and coordination, right? Because this doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? There's going to be a supervisor over, your new employee, or, a manager, somebody who this new employee is their direct report. And so you have some responsibility for that person. So in this case, that supervisor, that manager, they're going to be working directly with this job coach. And they're going to be talking about these different aspects, these different things that the job coach is helping with. Now, I've also listed the employer's responsibilities here, which are very similar to what the job coach is going to be doing. But these are things that employers provide to all new employees, right? All new employees receive some type of help and assistance with the onboarding process. Workplace integration, that's like learning about kind of what the culture is, in the workplace. When people are taking breaks, are there certain places where, people sort of meet while they're taking their breaks, like their lunch breaks and things? What are some of the expectations as far as being able to even take bathroom breaks, right? All things that we sort of all learn as, we start a new job. Those are things that the employer is going to be bringing up. And then the job coach can kind of, verify and make sure that the new employee is adhering to those types of things. And then obviously the employer is going to be providing the training as far as what job skills, what tasks, what responsibilities need to be done, how they need to be done. You'll talk about standards, right? Like the client's performance level, those types of things, providing feedback to this new employee. These are all things that are done in collaboration and all together. I also mentioned the accommodation implementation here. Right now, one of the awesome things about having a job coach present is they have that direct observation throughout a shift. And they also do have some skill and ability in identifying accommodations. They've generally worked with dozens, maybe even depending on how long they've been a job coach, hundreds of people with disabilities before. And they might very easily identify where an accommodation could be very beneficial to not just the employee, but also to the employer providing that accommodation. So the employer then takes on that responsibility of saying, yeah, that accommodation, that sounds great. I think we can do that. And they kind of move forward from there. So a little bit of the employer collaboration here with the job coach, with the new employee, it goes a long ways to providing all of the support that this new employee needs. This table here is a great table. Obviously, everybody could reference it, but this is kind of taking a look at some of the differences that might exist between a term that many people are familiar with, which is mentoring, and then what job coaching is, right? So looking through the table here, the focus of job coaching is really sort of that initial upfront type stuff. Okay, we're trying to train a client with the skills and make sure that they can do the job. Versus a mentor who's going to be around a little bit more long term, right? They're thinking a little bit more long term as far as career development and where you move from this position to this position and that one, that type of a thing. Again, with goals, short term with job coaching, right? We want the client to start wherever they're at as far as their ability to do the job. We want to see improvements there, right? All employers want to see a quality employee. Clients of vocational rehabilitation are no different. They want to increase their ability to do the job well. A mentor is sort of looking at the long term again, right? Continuing that performance improvement over a significant amount of time rather than the more short term that job coaching might be looking at. Now, job coaches, they are able to provide that very, one-on-one, really close type of supervision throughout an entire shift if they need to. But things like meetings or reviewing the client's performance and stuff like that, those are things that can be scheduled, right? The job coach would work with the employer and they would look at, hey, how much follow-up do we need? How often do you want reports about how well they're doing and those types of things? Now, a mentor is a little bit more informal, right? They kind of do some check-ins and things like that. Maybe when an issue comes up, then they can address it. So it's a little bit less formal than what a job coach might be doing. We already talked about job coaches, certifications and that type of thing, versus a mentor who they've been designated as a mentor because they're a knowledgeable employee who has a lot of, hands-on real world experience with doing that job. And then finally, as far as scheduling goes, yeah, this is something that the job coach, the employer, and the new employee all talk about and determine what's going to be best, how many hours each day or shift or per week, that type of thing. And then as far as mentoring, an employer sets up a mentor with somebody, they're going to determine what that looks like, how often they're meeting with the new employee. Thanks, Ben. So let's look just a little bit at kind of what takes place towards the end of job coaching and thereafter, okay? So here at Vocational Rehabilitation, we do pay for what we call ongoing job coaching support, which means we can pay for that service for a good amount of time, even up to a couple of years if we really needed to. But generally, the goal is to fade off from the job coaching, right? So job coach is going to be present for a period of time, making sure that clients learn the job well, they're meeting performance standards and that type of thing. And then we anticipate that they're going to fade out, right? They're going to be present less and less in order to increase that client or that employee's independence, right? We're always looking at creating a situation where the new employee is working as independently as they can. And that's pretty much true for all of us as well in our jobs. We all work pretty independently, doing what we need to do. And then sometimes maybe we have somebody step in to help with something. Okay, so a job coach might fade out. They may even, be missing shifts for a while because the client's doing so well. but they can still come back in, provide support when needed. Employers are still going to have contact with them, especially if they need to report something. Hey, we need a little bit of help with this. Could you come back in? So they haven't completely gone away. They've just faded off, trying to increase that independence. Now, in some cases, there might be additional extended funding available. Some clients might need a job coach present for a longer period of time than vocational rehabilitation is able to support. They might also have extended funding through a division like the Division of Services for People with Disabilities, for example, DSPD. They could pay for that service long-term to some extent. I mean, like pretty much as long as is needed if that client's open with them. And that would mean that the job coach could continue to follow up as needed or as the employer kind of sees fit. When we're looking at this period of time during fading and looking at what we call natural supports, the employer's responsibilities, I've listed several here, but basically, this is where the employer starts to really take on, the full gamut of all the supervision of the client's, daily activities and responsibilities. Basically stepping in and, saying the job coach is now kind of moving on. This client's being very independent. We're just going to be supervising this client basically as we do anybody else, right? There's no longer a job coach as a mediator or anything. We're supervising them and they're doing well. So this is where a supervisor or maybe coworkers start providing more feedback directly to the new employee, right? Any type of training and development that's available to employees, the employer is going to start facilitating that for this individual as well, right? This person is just stepping into the role and they're meeting the expectations, and now they're receiving supervision in the same way as anybody else. That job coach has now sort of removed themselves a bit. Review standards, performance standards, any types of plans that come along with the position will start to be implemented at this point. And if accommodations have been made, like if accommodations were made by the job coach, they were identified and they've been implemented, maybe that job coach has helped with some of those accommodations. This is when, a supervisor or a coworker would then be, providing the assistance with those accommodations, making sure that they are still in place. And then as with, any employees, whatever the culture kind of looks like, making sure that you're including this employee in all of those types of things, office activities and parties and such. I just want to address some, pretty common myths or misconceptions about job coaching. These are some. I think I've got like 6 or 7 or something like that here that I kind of wanted to talk about because they're pretty common. The first one here: job coaches simply do the new employees' work for them. Yeah, that's quite a myth. The reality is the job coach is just there to help support that individual. Right? They're just going to ensure that the individual's learning their tasks and responsibilities the way they should be. They're going to help them become proficient in what their tasks are. But they're definitely making sure that the employee is the one that is completing those job tasks, right? That job coach is not there to do it for them, especially like in a case where maybe they have to get so many things done. Yeah, the job coach isn't there to like do those types of things for them. The employer's standards for performance, and expectations and things, those are things that are discussed, and then that's what they're shooting for, just like any other employee. Myth number 2 here about job coaching costing the employer money. Well, the reality is job coaching is a service that gets paid for by, we pay for it at Vocational Rehabilitation, right? I mentioned DSPD earlier. That's another agency that serves people with disabilities. They also have funding for that. There are some other sources as well. For example, like some mental health agencies out there have money for this type of thing. But generally speaking, there's really no cost to an employer for this service. Myth number 3, individuals who need a job coach aren't capable of working on their own, right? Another common one. So the reality is all employees, when they start a new job, they're going to receive training. They're going to receive support from supervisors, managers, coworkers. Um, so all of that's coming from the employer. Uh, People with disabilities, really, we're just looking for like the same thing, right? Job coaching is provided as sort of this upfront training and proficiency type of an accommodation to this individual. And then later, all of those responsibilities get left to the employer, right? So it's really just an upfront accommodation. It helps assist with that training process. But then the employer and the employee, they learn more about each other. They learn what independent looks like. They learn what performance measures are needed to be met, and they work together moving forward. Job coaches just getting in the way of other employees, right? So you're thinking about, okay, well, I'm hiring this new employee who has a job coach who's going to be on site with them. Aren't they're just going to get in the way of like the other employees around here? The truth is, job coaches, they're generally very good at their jobs. They're focused on supporting their client. Okay, there are standards that have to be met. When they're on site, they are trying to be sort of like with this client and not disrupt any other types of activities or things that might be going on with other employees. Now, when things happen where maybe, conversations are taking place, coworkers are giving suggestions or giving some advice and guidance and things like that, yeah, they're probably going to engage and say, thank you very much. We appreciate that. And then they're going to be working with their client to make sure they're working proficiently as well. So job coaches, in general, they're not going to be getting in the way of other employees' responsibilities. Um, Job coaches, this idea that they have a few working skills of their own. So job coaches, they've chosen a field that they feel like they have skills and abilities in. They've chosen a field that they feel like will give them some reward, where they're motivated and enthusiastic to come to work, right? So they go through specialized training. They've completed certificates like we've kind of already talked about. And all of that lends itself to, these individuals anticipate that they're going to be working in a variety of work settings, okay, or work environments, okay. So some of their like greatest skills, I've listed some here that I love about employment specialists and job coaches, but their ability to adapt to different work environments is just awesome. Their problem solving abilities are also fantastic, especially I mentioned like the accommodations thing, right? Where they're observing how a client is working with in a particular responsibility and saying, hey, I think we can figure out how to do that a little bit better. They do an amazing job there. So these individuals are very flexible, very adaptable, and they're very ready to serve the client and the employer. Just a couple more here. These are some things that I've had employers mention before about, hey, this job coach is just going to stop coming, right? Well, job coaches, generally speaking, they're supposed to be in collaboration with employers at all times. That includes when they are looking at fading out and what that fade out plan is going to look like. That way, the employer doesn't get surprised when all of a sudden one day the job coach isn't there for 1 hour of the shift, right? The employer should be aware of those types of things. They are trained to do that type of stuff. That's what we want them to do. So them just stopping, their services altogether is actually uncommon. And if it does happen, there is some recourse, and we have counselors that can be contacted, or the CRP, the employer of that job coach, can be contacted, because we don't want to see that. We want to see a good, strong professional collaboration. And then this last one here about insurance liability on company property. We've seen that maybe a couple times where we've had questions from employers about that. CRPs are required through their agreement that they have with us at Voc Rehab. They have to carry a bunch of different types of insurance. They carry their general liability insurance. They're going to carry workers' compensation insurance when necessary. And in most cases, they're carrying auto insurance as well. So they're definitely going to have the appropriate insurance. If there's ever concerns about that as an employer, you can always ask, and they can hopefully provide something. They can kind of help you with that. I did put a little story in here. We're actually gonna, I think if we've got time for it, we're gonna watch a brief clip actually after this. But I did put one of a success story up here about Olivia. On the next page here, it gives like, it's like her whole story here, but we kind of decided, we put a QR code up there. If you want to scan that, you can actually go, it'll take you straight to her story online where we have some success stories of people who've engaged in job coaching. We won't read that whole thing here. I wanna watch this video really quick. I'll just quick setup. This individual, Brianne, she received a service as which we call customized employment. But with customized employment, we're going to see just how much support, how many people are involved in having a person get placed in a job that she really, really loves. So go ahead with that, Ben. We'll see how it works. Oh, I think I'm not hearing any sound. Is that just me?
Sound.
All right, let's see if we can figure out the sound here. I might need to get out of the slide deck and just play this on a different audio.
See if it'll work if you're just not on mute, maybe.
Hey, let's give it a shot.
One of
No.
our challenges is just
Was that a
It's
no?
working.
Oh, it was? Okay.
anxiety, and related to that is selective mutism. When she's around people she doesn't know, she just climbs up and won't speak.
Brianna came to my office when she was 19 years old. We were able to assess through the meetings that we attended every year what job she would be a strong candidate for. I felt like she would be a great candidate for the customized employment. Basically, the job is customized to the client, to what they want, not just, a cookie cutter job.
Talked to Gina and said, I have a client and this is her dream job. Great, I'm accommodating that.
In the beginning, like it took us a minute to kind of figure out her best way of learning things and doing things.
It's brought out best in Brianna. She loves this job.
Brianne, this is her only internship and she was offered a job, and I've seen that happen kind of across the board in pathways to careers because of the discovery process.
Comes in on and works for about 3 hours a day, and she loves all the animals. In fact, sometimes we have to tell her to go do other things because she loves the animals so much.
Definitely more confident. It's like my husband says, everybody needs to feel like they're contributing, to the world or to society and have something to do that gives them some self-esteem and confidence. And so that's really helped her in that way.
But she scoops poops, she wipes down walls, she gets meals ready, she sets up kennels for the end of the day so that when they go to bed at night, they're all ready to be tucked in. And then, of course, more loving of the dogs, which is her favorite part of the job.
And it's been wonderful to know that she was able to obtain a job that she's doing something that she.
So she has filled a much needed spot, like honestly, and I tried to figure out how it was all gonna work and then it like clicked one day.
Well, we just appreciate the opportunity and the agencies that were involved, and it was very detailed and getting to know Brianne and what her skills were and what she'd be good at and maybe what's it gonna work so good. And
That's our goal, to help the student become gainfully employed through all these programs that we have and resources that we're able to access to help the student be successful. It's been a pleasure for me to work with Brianna.
Wonderful. Thanks, Ben, for doing that. Everybody, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk a little bit more about job coaching. I think we're going to turn the time over to Josh now.
Come on, you don't get out of this that quickly. Anybody
Oh, I
have
can take
any
questions.
job
Yeah.
coaching questions around what Jason spoke about? Anything related to that? Now's your chance.
Even if you have a success story you'd like to share or an experience you've had that maybe was concerning or frustrating, and we could case staff that.
I don't see anything in the chat. I don't see anybody coming off of mute. All right. Going once, going twice. Thank you, Jason, so much for your presentation and that great information. So my name is Josh Rodeback. I'm a business relations specialist with the Utah Office of Rehabilitation. Very similar to kind of what Jason does, program overview, management, supervision of business relations and the Choose to Work program. So we'll go through a few slides if you haven't heard about business relations and Choose to Work, and a little more information on that. Next slide, please. So Jason spoke a lot about disability and vocational rehabilitation. So let's go through a few things. So the ADA's definition of a disability is a mental or physical condition that substantially limits one or more of life's major functions. So that could be something in relation to walking, standing, talking, interacting with others, taking care of yourself, a lot of those life activities. When we're talking about a record of impairment, we're talking about somebody has been officially diagnosed or has been supported in a way, and that has been documented over the existence of their support, and then regarded by others as having. So basically making an assumption that somebody may have a disability because of some type of interaction that they've had or an event. So the easiest way I think to do this is in a couple of ways. One is, somebody has experienced cancer, and maybe that's been very debilitating to them and not able to function and needing some assistance. But then later on, maybe their cancer's in remission and they're able to function as they were prior to the cancer. So we may believe that, well, that person had cancer, so they may still struggle to perform daily life activities. That's making an assumption without talking to the individual. The other one that's kind of more relevant to a lot of what we see throughout our daily lives is when we're talking about veterans who have served overseas in combat zones, or just in general have served the country, and we make the assumption that they may have post-traumatic stress, and we don't give them the opportunities because we don't want to stress them out, we don't want to overwork them. That is making an assumption and being regarded by others as having a disability, even though they may not have a disability. Next slide, please. So here are some national statistics around disability. So 64 million Americans have disabilities. So that's 1 in 4. 50% of those are hard of hearing. 25% are mental disabilities, which I think is a little low, and there's still a lot of stigma around disclosing disability. The interesting one here, 2% wheelchair users. Reason that this is interesting is because what do we recognize as a symbol for disability? It's a person in a wheelchair, but only 2% of people with disabilities are actually using wheelchairs. Aging population, just because you're getting older doesn't mean you have a disability. It just means that as we age, some of those daily functions may become more difficult. And that may signify that we might be getting a disability, or we might be struggling with some things, and maybe looking at the possibility of utilizing assistive technology, whether that might be a cane, wheelchair for mobility, or other devices. And then 30% of families with one or more member with a disability. So you may have somebody in your family that has a disability. You may know of somebody that's a neighbor, friend, that or a colleague that has a disability. Next slide. Here are Utah's statistics. So our population is just over 3 million, 3.3 million. We have almost 340,000 people with disabilities. So that's about 10%, just over 10%. 26% of those being cognitive, 22% ambulatory, 17% being hearing related, 10% vision related, and 8% self-care. Based on working age 18 to 34, there's 21%, and 34%, 35 to 64 in that disability category that are in that working age. So Jason talked a lot about vocational rehabilitation and saying that employers don't need to pay for job coaches because vocational rehabilitation will do that. For those of you that don't know, vocational rehabilitation is a national program. So each state has their own program. And what this program does is help people with disabilities address their barriers to employment. So that can be when they are obtaining employment for the first time, or maybe they're getting back into employment. So whatever it might be, vocational rehab will be there to support people with disabilities to get into or back into employment and also maintain employment. So we want to make sure that people with disabilities have the opportunity to build careers where they can feel valued and be a part of the community and increase their independence. Here are some of the possible services the Voc Rehab may offer. So Jason talked a little bit about assessment and consultation around the job coaching area. This can also be with services needed to be successful. It can be around vocational or career goals, education and training. There's vocational assessments. Restoration services are services that are specific to the needs of the disability. So if I were somebody who struggled with mental health issues or concerns, these restoration services would be around those mental health disabilities. So that could be therapy, medication management, it could be social skills, just depending on what my barriers were, those services and restoration services would be around or tailored to the needs of my disability or the barriers that I faced. Training and education. Student transition services, we'll talk a little bit more about this. Assistive technology and accommodation. So somebody might just need some adaptive devices. These can be something as simple as maybe a standing desk, a larger workstation, or they could be computer software, maybe some other devices that would help me be more successful in the job. And this is going to depend again on the disability and the job setting. Employment services, so a lot of what Jason talked about, and then I'll talk about a little bit more about employment services. Benefits planning, so those that receive Social Security benefits, that sort of thing, we want to make sure that they understand benefits so that they can be successful, not lose those benefits while they are still working. And then business consultation is a case by case, and that's a lot of what business relations does. My team and Choose to Work, we do a lot of that business consultation with our employer network. So if you are an employer and you're in a situation that you're not sure how to proceed forward, please feel free to reach out. We'd be more than happy to help with that. Next slide. Here's the business relations team. So as you get this slide deck emailed to you in that digital copy, anything highlighted in blue is a link. So our names are linked to our LinkedIn pages, and then our email addresses are linked to our email addresses. So much easier to connect with us. Always connect with us on LinkedIn because that is a great way to see what we are doing, events that are up and coming, and if you're business partners, and we are connected, we like to share your job openings across our network. Next slide. So some of the services that we provide to our business partners is, again, one-on-one support, assistance to improve or add workplace accommodations, connecting with other businesses. You've heard from me, Leah, Ben, and Rebecca about working with an individual with a disability. You're like, this is great, but I want to talk to another business partner who has done this. We can definitely connect you with business partners who have worked with people with disabilities and have had a lot of great success with that as well. We can provide direct access to job-ready clients. We can help post your jobs. And we also host events to promote your jobs and also provide you with additional support and resources. Next slide. This is one of those ways that we like to share your job openings or employers' job openings with the PWDnet partnership. And so what essentially we can do is, besides providing training, workshops, assistance, that sort of thing, we also have an email listserv. It's pwdnetjobs@utah.gov. And this is a great way for employers to share their current openings with us so that we can share that out with our network across the state of Utah. And then job seekers and job coaches can receive those emails about open positions with our business partners. Definitely a great way to connect with us. Also, if you're searching on the jobs.utah.gov website, if you type in the search bar PWDnet, a lot of our employers have started to use that as a tagline so that people who are looking for job openings and want to find employers who are open to hiring people with disabilities, we've started to see a lot more of our employer connections use this PWDnet in their taglines, in their postings, so that you can find them and know that they are open to hiring people with disabilities. Next slide. Choose to Work services. So this is similar to job coaching, but not exactly job coaching. I don't mean to be confusing there. However, a Choose to Work specialist is going to provide services to our business partners like the business relations team. They may, if things get a little more involved, they may refer you to a business relations person like myself, Ben, Leah, or Rebecca. The other thing that Choose to Work is going to do is they're also going to work one-on-one with Voc Rehab clients. And what they're going to do is provide the minimal services of job development activities, helping them get a resume ready, find job postings and apply for those job postings. And they're also going to help prepare for interviews. Choose to Work will not provide any on-site supports like a job coach will. So a job coach will be needed if someone needs on-site supports. Choose to Work is just providing those job development activities. Next slide. Here's our team. So we have Choose to Work specialists across the state. We have Dan in the northern, Shelly in the Ogden area, Kate in the Davis area, Leanne in Valley West and Tooele, and Susanna in the Salt Lake downtown area. Then our southern team, starting with South Valley, or I should say the south part of Salt Lake, is Diana, Claudia in the northern part of Utah County, and Heber, Dustin in central Utah and Southern County, Mercedes in Eastern Utah, and Jessica in Southern Utah. So youth services, we also want to look at helping youth get those opportunities to connect with business partners as well. So we want to look at a few different options with our youth. And one of those that I see most of our business partners really getting on board with is that this is creating a pipeline for future employees. So when they connect with our youth and share what they do, who they are, and how youth can connect to future job opportunities, this is, as we connect, this is creating those future pipeline of candidates. We want to connect students to internships, apprenticeships, and work opportunities. And that can look like a lot of different things, whether we have an employer come out to a classroom and talk about what they do, whether we have a class come out to an employer site, or whether we do a virtual something that our students can engage with our employers. And then there's a lot of other ways that we can connect our employers to youth so that they can better understand what these future opportunities might be for them. Next slide. So we do have a Utah Committee on Employment of People with Disabilities. They are a business-to-business network, and they are supporting people with disabilities who are looking to find job opportunities. This is something where business partners and community partners can connect and attend these meetings. The other thing that we do and partner with are the Golden Key Awards. That's where we recognize employers who have gone above and beyond, providing opportunities to people with disabilities. And that can look like a lot of different things. This blue link that says more information will take you to our website where you can look at the past Golden Key winners. Next slide. Disability in Utah is business to business, but they are a nonprofit organization. They are affiliated with the Disability National. So we do have an affiliate here in Utah. And then this is also another way to connect with business partners, get resources and supports from business partners who are supporting people with disabilities and working to promote people with disabilities in the workforce. And additionally, you can find more resources at the links below. Next slide. So I mentioned we do have some free or no cost events. Our main events throughout the year are the employer workshop. So that's in March and September, where our employers can come, get more information, connect with the business relations team and the Choose to Work team, and also get additional resources around hiring people with disabilities. Following that, in April and October, we host our job fair. So we get a lot of our employers that will, after attending the workshop, they want to attend our job fairs and connect with people in our network of people with disabilities, community partners that are serving people with disabilities to provide job opportunities. So these are great ways to connect with our team and business partners. Next slide. So Jason had talked a lot about making sure that somebody can be successful, especially when we are looking to promote and support people with disabilities. Sometimes there are accommodations that are needed. You can find some more information. The Job Accommodation Network is a great place for job coaches and employers alike that are looking to provide or understand more about accommodations. This has so much information that you will probably get lost and kind of go down a rabbit hole, but it is a great resource. There is a lot of information. However, if you come across something that maybe you don't understand, please reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to help. But this is a great starting point to understand more about accommodations, and that is a clickable link. So we do have some upcoming events, one to follow this one. After job coaching, what we want to do is look at natural supports, and Jason spoke a little bit about this, but we will be having another presentation next month talking about natural supports on the job site. So we hope to see you there. There's a registration link, a QR code, and the date of when this will happen, and we look forward to seeing you there and hosting you as well. Next slide. We are on social media. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We do post a lot of our events, whether those are virtual or in person, on these different social media sites and on LinkedIn as well. Next slide. We thank you so much for being here today. It has been a pleasure. And this is a new thing that we're trying to do. This is a QR code for a survey, so you can give us feedback on how this presentation went. If you have any suggestions, if you'd like follow-up information, additional resources, or maybe some tailored training to your business site or anything like that, this is a great way to connect with us. Anybody have any additional questions, any additional information they'd like to share? Feel free to come off chat, or I should say come off of mute, or put it in the chat. Excuse me for that.
I just want to add thank you, Jason and Josh, for presenting. We always want to know when there's any questions or concerns around job coaches or the services we provide. Our team doesn't offend easily. We want to be that first stop that an employer might go to if they have a question or concern. So if you guys run into anything that you're like, hey, we're not quite sure about this job coaching situation, or I had an employer who said, we don't do job coaches. Those are all great opportunities for us to provide training and education in those instances, and share a little bit more about the fact that job coaching can potentially be a reasonable accommodation, and the ways that is a reasonable accommodation for these individuals. So please let us know if there's anything we can support you on.
Yes. Thank you, Leah. I would say one of the things that many of you probably know the Disability Law Center, what they do, how they support. One of the things that they did mention in a presentation is to connect with us, just because we can be that initial icebreaker or conversation around accommodations, around supports, that sort of thing before things get maybe to that point of reaching out to the Disability Law Center. There's been a lot of times where we've been able to clear up information or misinformation. Jason talked about myths. We can help clear that information up as well so that the relationship is successful and the individual can be successful. Also, the employer being successful. That's really what we're here for. That's really what we want, is the success of the opportunity of the employer and supporting the individual with a disability. Thank you so much for being here. These slides will be sent out with any additional information through the email for those of you that registered. If you caught this on a recording and maybe didn't register, feel free to reach out. You can use the QR code here for the presentation survey. If you never saw the registration, and you can register or complete the survey and get the slide deck as well. We will share this with those who request it. And I think that is it. Thank you so much for being here. We greatly appreciate it.